Well, so let's talk a little bit about that ever expanding Republican primary field. So you're getting sort of the outliers now. Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina. I suppose Rick Santorum has announced that he's announcing. I assume, but tell me if you disagree, that the proliferation of candidates who are seen as second-tier candidates may actually benefit somebody like Jeb Bush, because you take the "I'm not for Jeb Bush" vote and you slice it up into ever smaller pieces in which nobody can ever gain traction. But maybe that's not the right strategic analysis.
I think that's right. I think, we have seen now, I guess, 6 official announcements. We're going to get a whole nother batch from these governors when they wrap up their state sessions in June and July. We're going to get former governors at points in between and afterwards. So in Jeb Bush, who knows when he's going to announce, or if he ever is going to announce, because he seems to be running the campaign just fine without actually being an official candidate.
Exactly.
I would think that in the end will benefit a guy like Jeb, who is kind of seen as, maybe a not a firm front runner, but a front runner who's going to, by all accounts, have the most money. But when you have a field of 20 people, it's really tough to predict who it's going to be. As I kind of see the field, you've kind of got Jeb here, and he's going to do his thing, and he's going to have a lot of money, and there are going to be a lot of Republicans who are never excited about him. There's probably going to be a lane for Rand Paul because he has a constituency independent of the party. And then there's kind of space for 2 others. You've got the evangelical candidate, and you've got kind of the alternative, mainstream / evangelical alternative to Jeb.
That person happens to be named Marco Rubio.
Right, at the moment it is, but Scott Walker can make a pretty valid argument for those guys. Chris Christie, should he have a revival of some point, will run for them. But to your point, I think the most interesting lane right now, the most crowded lane, is kind of this evangelical lane. And the fact that there's no kind of clear consensus pick, it's really going to undercut those guys, those voters heading into the Iowa caucuses, for example, which has been a launching pad for evangelical.
And I forgot to mention Mike Huckabee when I was talking about that, because he's maybe the most formidable of the second-tier people who've just come out, because he does have a base.
And what's interesting about him is that he has been polling really well. He's been, he's been basically out of politics since he ran for president in 2008. He's been on Fox News. He's been doing the evangelical speaking circuit, and he is polling kind of right with the rest of the not Jeb candidates. So,
do you think that's just name ID, or does he have a message that really stands out from the crowd?
Well, I think it's partially name ID. I also think that he is this populist message that he's been pushing. It was popular for Rick Santorum, who was completely underfunded and really didn't even have name ID heading into the Iowa caucuses that he eventually won. But that was really the Huckabee message. I mean, I sat down with the governor a couple weeks ago, and he made the case, yes, evangelicals like me, but my main support was among middle-class Republican voters who just felt like, it was the elites versus us, and I'm on the side of them. And so I think that message will resonate. The problem he's going to have this time is that there are going to be a lot of other candidates who are kind of stepping on his toes and trying to take a little piece of that message. So I don't know that he's going to have a monopoly over these voters like he did the last time, because we're going to have Santorum in the race. Ted Cruz is making the same play for those guys. And typically these are voters who want something new, and Mike Huckabee is not new.